Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be going through all the books I read for April. So the first book I read is Kill River 3 by Cameron Robichaux, which follows Cindy, Johnny, and Christy 3 months after the events of the second book. And they're still grappling with all the shit that went down, thinking that it was their friend, co-worker guy who did the killings. Obviously it's not. And it's going to start happening again. And so they're still going through the motions of all that shit that's going on. Christy wasn't really involved, so she's just more feels isolated from Johnny and Cindy because they're not letting her in on what really happened at the park that day. And yeah, so we pick up right where we left off, and then shit goes wrong almost immediately. And we have another fun water park slasher. I enjoyed this whole series. I think the entire series is like 4 stars. Same with this book, but the best one is definitely the first book, and then the second book, then the third, because pretty early on, something happens in this book, and it changes the trajectory of the book and the characters, and it kind of like kneecaps one of the characters, and I did not love that, because I really love that character, and to have them just sidelined for the majority of the book was really kind of frustrating and annoying for me. But I enjoyed this. I thought this was another fun water park slasher book. And yeah, I would recommend it. And every book has like a little soundtrack at the back. And I love that. I love when books do that. I think it's so fun to set the mood and the tone of the book and the setting and the time and all that shit. So yeah, I loved it. Ate it up. 4 out of 5. The next book I read is Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen, which just follows Gilda, who is a atheist lesbian who is like super fixated on death, and you know, like the title, everyone will someday be dead, blah blah blah. And she's very go with the flow, she doesn't make decisions, so she just kind of lets the world happen to her instead of actively participating in the trajectory of her life and career and everything. She just stumbles on shit and just rolls with it. And so she stumbles upon a church, and they're like, "Oh, are you here for the like receptionist job or whatever the fuck?" And she's like, "Yeah," and even though she wasn't. And now she has a new job as a receptionist at a church where she's a lesbian atheist and clearly does not want to be there. And so we just follow her as her life is spiraling and just going through the stuff. But then there's some fun stuff happening at the church that changes the course of the story to get her to fixate on other shit. And yeah, I thought this was really fun. It took a minute for me to get into it because it was a bit jarring. The writing and Gilda is just very literal, very deadpan, like extremely deadpan. And it took me like half the book to really get into the flow of things. But once I got into the flow, I really liked it. I really ended up enjoying it. I think in my book journal I wrote that it's like the perks of being Wallflower's atheist lesbian sister. And I think, yeah, because Gilda really did remind me of Charlie with the way kind of Charlie copes with shit. Gilda kind of is on the same wavelength as Charlie. But I thought it was really good. I give it a 4 out of 5. Solid read, don't regret, really enjoyed it. The next book I read is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver, which just follows Sloane and what's the guy, Rowan, who are 2 serial killers that only kill other serial killers, and they meet up and then become friends, and they're like, hey, every year let's meet up again and have a competition to track down and kill a serial killer. And so that's what this book is. They do that. And I hated this. 1 star. I did not like the characters at all. I thought Rowan was, obviously he's like a serial killer, but for being a serial killer who's like a good serial killer because they only kill bad people, I was like, okay, that's 1, boring. I want evil people doing evil things. And he was just kind of nasty. He was very degrading towards Sloane, and I really didn't like that. And Sloane herself, when she's supposed to be like this badass serial killer to the Orb Weaver, Orb something. And whenever she was with Rowan, it was like she was a fucking 12-year-old. She was like all meek and shy and kind of like belittled herself down. And I was like, I don't know, I didn't like that. You're supposed to be this badass serial killer and you're acting like a fucking 12-year-old. No, didn't like that. I didn't like that it didn't get freaky with it. Like, the sex scenes weren't like crazy or anything. Like, I want freaky shit. They're serial killers. They're weird. There wasn't really anything that freaky, which is what I think majority of people were like, oh, it's a serial killer romance, so they're gonna get freaky with it. No, not really. It's pretty run-of-the-mill shit. And I just didn't like it. I didn't think the characters were good. I didn't think the writing was good. I thought the story was boring as fuck. It takes place over like 5 fucking years. It takes forever for shit to get started. Yeah, I just did not. I don't understand why people like it. I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was corny. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't. Sorry. The next book I read is Night of the Witch Hunter by Patrick Barb, which is the 6th in the Killer VHS series. And this follows Josie, who's a descendant of a, like, Salem witch or whatever. And so she, for her, like, project or whatever, like, research for something, for, like, history or whatever the fuck, her and her friend do a little, like, witchcraft seance thing to try to connect with her ancestor. And instead they get the witch hunter guy who comes back and connects with them instead, which has a series of shit happening, and it's not good. He's a little killer guy, little slasher guy, and I thought this was super fun. I love all the Killer VHS book series except for the first one. The first one's a flop. The rest are amazing, and this is another great one. I thought it was super fun. It was like, it's like if Hocus Pocus, instead of the 3 incompetent witches, it was like old, like, crazy witch hunter slasher guy. And yeah, I thought it was really fun. I thought the story moved fast, like all of them. They're short. Yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I loved Josie and her best friend. I loved their dynamic. I loved where the story went. I loved how fast it was. I don't know. I really liked it. I think it's a fun time. If you like slashers and little novellas, I highly recommend. The next book I read is The Blue Book of Nebo by Manon Stephen Ross, which follows a family after a nuclear apocalypse. It's a mother, her son, and her like 2-year-old child, as they are surviving the apocalypse, trying to do shit. And this book fucking broke me. I sobbed so hard. I think maybe the hardest I've ever sobbed in a book. Like, you know, when it's like choked up and it's like you can feel it in your throat that like hurts. It's like, you know, I was feeling that. It was so devastating. It's so heartbreaking to see this mom trying to provide for her son and help her son. Obviously, the son has to help out and do shit, and she like wants to protect him from shit, but she can't, because in the reality of their situation, he's gonna see messed up shit and have to do messed up shit. And it was just heartbreaking. It was so sad. But I really loved the writing style and like the writing, like the way the book is like laid out or whatever, because it starts off with the kid Dylan, I think that's his name, correct? Dylan, who finds a little blue book, and not like, I don't know if it's little, but a blue journal or whatever, and he's like, oh, my mom doesn't want to teach me anymore, so she just wants me to write shit to learn. And so he's like, oh, look, I found this blue book. It's going to be the Blue Book of Nebo, and we can write our thoughts and journey and process through going through everything in this book. So it goes back and forth from the son to the mom to the son to the mom, and sometimes it doubles up or whatever. And yeah, 5 out of 5. I thought it was absolutely fucking incredible. I love apocalypse stories like this. Yeah, I loved. 5 out of 5. The next book I read is One for Sorrow by Christopher Barzark, whatever. And this follows a boy named Adam McCormick, so this kid, Jamie Marks, is found dead. And Adam McCormick sees his ghost and realizes that he has a lot in common with Jamie. They're both no one pays attention to them in their life. They're both kind of like pushed to the side. And so he sees that Jamie is lingering and thinks, well, Jamie needs a friend like I needed a friend, or I need a friend. And so he tries to be that friend for Jamie, but as he develops this relationship with the ghost boy, he starts slipping away from life itself. And yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I read this because I watched the movie, and then I saw that it was based on a book, and I was like, oh, I want to read the book. And it was really sad, really like mellow, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good story. It was really sad. Again, very sad. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a interesting premise of like medium or whatever that could see ghosts, because he can't like see ghosts. He can just see Jamie. and their connection and their friendship and the ghost world and how all that shit works. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5. I would recommend. The next book I read is 13 Reasons Why, the deluxe 10th anniversary edition. And I know everyone hates this book, everyone hates the show. Unfortunately, I am not everyone. I read the book when I was like 15, 16 after my own experiences similar to Hannah's, and I really connected with the book and the show. I felt seen in it, and I understand that's a lot of people's experience. They think it's very triggering and very bad, but I do not feel that way, unfortunately. The first season of the show, I think, is perfect television. I'll stand by that. I absolutely loved the first season of the television show. 2, 3, 4, especially 2. That show was wild. But I got the 10th anniversary edition and I wanted to reread it. And I definitely don't like it as much as I did back then. But I still give it 4 stars. It's a problematic fave. I understand why people don't enjoy this book and sees that as glorifying suicide. But I just don't think it does. But, that's me. That's my experience. And 4 out of 5, I recommend it. Unless you're, watch some more intellectual things on the show and the book and decide for yourself. But I love the show and book. It holds a special place in my heart, and it always will, unfortunately. The next book I read is The Inheritance by Trisha, I don't know how to say your last name. And this follows a family who are going to an island to discuss the dad's inheritance or whatever, because he's about to sell his company. And so they're like, oh, inheritance shit or something, I guess. I don't know. So it's the mom, it's the dad, and then it's the 3 siblings, a brother and 2 sisters. I think it's like older sister, brother, like middle brother, and youngest sister. And then the brother has a wife, and the sister brings a boy with her. The younger sister does. And so we're going through the motions of the inheritance and all of their baggage and all the shit they bring into it. And I thought this book was okay. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Didn't think there was a whole lot going on with it. It wasn't hard to read. That's why I gave it a 3. Because like a 2 or a 1 is like books I struggled to get through and I didn't like. Like I didn't struggle to get through this book. I just did not connect with anything happening in this book. I didn't really care overall. The brother's wife Zoe is a Instagram influencer, and like just some people that write influencers, they just don't really get it. It just kind of it just felt corny. It didn't feel like realistic to like an actual influencer, and I didn't love it. I didn't really care throughout most of the book where it was going, and once we got to where it was going, I thought it was underwhelming and obvious and not fun. It was fine. It was fine. The writing was fine. It wasn't hard to read, but I can't like recommend it to people because I just don't think it was that good. I just think it was fine. It was like, well, The next book I read is Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights #1, Into the Pit, which has 3 stories. The first story is Into the Pit, like the title, and it follows, what's his name, Oswald, who's in a dying town and his parents are struggling with money. So it's the summertime and he has to go to, he just has to go to the library to stay there for the entire summer while his parents work. He doesn't get activities or get to stay at home, so he just goes to the library, read books, and then he'll go over to Jeff's Pizza, get a slice of pizza. And Jeff's Pizza used to be a Fazbear Pizzas thing. And he goes to the back and finds an old ball pit, and he decides to be like, fuck my dad, I'm gonna go hide in the ball pit. And so he goes in the ball pit, and then once he stands up, he's teleported back in time to when all the murders as Fazbears was happening. And then he's like, oh shit, this is whack. And so he goes, he meets some friends in the olden times, and one time he I forget how, the dad ends up going to the ball pit, but then Springtrap pops out, takes the dad in the ball pits, and ends up kind of possessing his body in the present timeline somehow. And so Oswald has to find a way to stop Springtrap and bring his dad back. That's where it was fine. I think it was pretty, the main problem with the first 2 stories especially, I think they were written kind of ass. They, just the writing was not very good, and the stories were okay. But yeah, I thought Into the Pit was fine, like 3 stars, you know, whatever. The next story is To Be Beautiful, which, what's her name? Sarah thinks she's an Uggo, so she is like very sad about being an Uggo. And she finds this animatronic at a dump or whatever, and she brings it home, and then the animatronic comes to life and is like, oh, I can grant your wish. And she's like, I want to be beautiful. So every night she goes to sleep and wakes up with like a different body part that's like beautiful now. And then obviously the animatronic's evil and shit goes wrong. And I thought that story was fine. I don't know, it didn't really do anything for me. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was like kind of predictable where it was gonna go. If like, cause especially if you've dived into some of the lore, and especially the other books like the Silver Eyes trilogy, it's kind of obvious where that's going. But I thought it was fine. You know, another 3-star. I didn't think anything of it. Then the last one is Count the Ways, which follows Millie, who's this like girl who just wants to disappear. She hates her life, she hates her family, she hates everything. Which like real love Millie down. Love my girl Millie. And she finds herself in I think it's a Funtime Freddy. Funtime Freddy? It's like the pink and white Freddy, I think. That she wakes up or whatever in his abdomen. And so we go back and forth from Freddy being like, oh, how do you want me to kill you? I can suffocate you, I can boil you alive, I can cut you in half. And to the past Millie timeline to see how she ended up inside the Freddy. And I ate that story up. I thought that was the best story, for sure. The best written story, the most interesting, especially and like sadistic with Freddy, little crazy bitch. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was good. That was definitely my favorite one out of here. But overall, I gave this like a 3 stars. But this is very much like the new age Goosebumps, which I think is fun to get kids into horror and stuff. That's how you get introduced to it, through like that stuff. And I like how it doesn't hold the punches like Goosebumps. Goosebumps used to be fucking scary. I haven't read one of those in a while, so I assumed it would be kind of similar to this. But yeah, 3 stars. Yeah, I enjoy it. The next book I read is Pocket Knife Kitty by Shannon Riley, which follows Jamie, a like 30-year-old who is like, she's had a go of it. She's run down. She feels awful about herself. And so she goes to a bar, and then she gets hit on by a guy, and she's like, oh my god, this happened. This hasn't happened in forever. Let's go bone. So they bone, and then ever since that one night stand, her life, she thought it was a mess. Girl, is an even bigger mess after that. And it gets fucking nasty, bitch. If you want some nasty imagery and nasty writing, it gets fucking nasty. My poor girl, Jamie, her life was already going downhill. It just gets fucking worse. Insanely worse. And this, I think most people that read this book probably like horror, so it is not very similar, but has the same kind of idea as a very popular movie. But I don't want to say what that movie is because it gives away everything that's going to happen. But yeah, I gave this 4 stars. If you like nasty shit, highly recommend. I thought it was kind of unlike anything I've ever read, kind of. But I don't know, it had some inspiration, but nasty. But I would recommend it. The next book I read is The Zombie Chasers 4, Empire State of Slime. I read the first 3 10 million times in middle school. I loved this series, and I don't think I knew that there was a 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe? I don't think I ever knew that there was more books than the first 3. So I saw that, and I was like, okay, I have to finish the series, because I loved these books as a kid. And so, yeah, I was just reading them. I'm getting through that series. The next book I read, and final book of April I read, is Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights #2, Fetch, which much better than Into the Pit, I have to say. All 3 of these stories are so much better written, and the ideas are so much more fresh, and not really that much more fresh, but just more well thought out, and the stories just have more energy to them, you know what I mean? So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. The first story, Fetch, follows this kid, is it Greg? Greg and his 2 friends break into an old Five Nights at Freddy's place, the pizzeria, whatever, and they find this little robot dog, and they accidentally turn it on, and then the dog, I think his name's Fetch, ends up following Greg home, and starts sending them texts and shit, and then Greg is like, oh, I wish this would happen, and Fetch makes that shit happen. And so, obviously, when you're oh, I wish, blah, 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 and then you don't actually want that to happen, you're just like, ugh, you know? And then Fetch is like, okay, I'll make that happen for you, dude. And so obviously horror and shit follows. And I thought the story was solid. Not my favorite out of the bunch in here, but I liked it. I thought it was fun. I liked it. Lonely Freddy follows this brother and sister duo. The brother is a bad kid. He's like a nightmare. He does bad shit on purpose, and his sister's the golden child. And so him and his sister team up to switch roles or whatever, make him good, make her bad, for I forget why, but that's what they do. And the whole time the brother's like, I know you're evil. I'm gonna fucking expose you, bitch. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. So he's doing this to try to set up his sister as the like evil bitch that she is, even though you're like, I don't know, she kind of just wants to help you, dude. But and then it all comes to a head when they go to her birthday party at Pizzaplex? One of the Five Nights places. They have a party there, and there's these little Freddy things that take over the story from there. I also thought that one was solid. Not super Five Nights-y. It was a lot of him and the sister at home doing shit, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was well written. Yeah, I thought it was solid. Out of Stock, which follows, what's his name? Oscar, it's just him and his mom, I think. And so he has to pick up a lot of slack and be like the man of the house and be older than he actually is. And his mom is like, you're going to help me at my work instead of going to buy a new doll or whatever. Because there's this new like plush trap. It's like a plush trap thing dropping. And him and his friends have been saving up forever to go get one. And they really wanted it. So, but he has to go help his mom, so he can't. But he makes it work and goes to get the plush trap, and it's all out of stock. And he sees the workers in the back talking about how this one's defective, we need to like send it back, whatever. And he runs in the back, steals the plush trap, takes it home. And then obviously plush trap evil as fuck. And so horror follows. It's very, very child's play. Very child's play to me. And I thought it was another solid story. I liked Oscar. I liked the idea of him like having to pick up the slack but still wanting to be a kid, and him and his mom's relationship because it doesn't demonize the mom for needing help. It's more of a like, it's more nuanced than that. Like, even though he is frustrated at his mom, he loves his mom and he understands why what's happening is happening. And yeah, I thought it was solid. This one was so much fucking better than the Into the Pit. I think I would give each story 4 stars, so ultimately this book's 4 stars, but yeah. I'm excited to read the other ones. I think it's a little fun breather between reading longer books, and I'm happy that the kiddos these days have these to read, to get them into horror. Bye!